But yeah, the lack of intention is like getting really the lack of intention, and then the use of fucking excuses, bro.
Well, let me ask you this before you get too deep in it, like because I was gonna say it earlier. When you say we're freestyling too much, why do you think that? Well, I think that's because it's a lack of leadership or a lack of a certain code or principle that everybody knows to be on. And I think that's more so what we gotta.
Yeah,
necessarily.
the thing is that
we gotta define shit.
When I say freestyle, I'm talking about like there's a lack of intention, like overly lack of intention, and there's a lack of just thinking about. You can just look at the simplest thing: the way niggas driving, the way like literally.
Like on the road,
right,
like
so,
have
and
no.
By niggas, are you saying like people in general?
No. What I'm saying is, honestly, I'm just talking. I don't even care to talk about everybody else.
Gotcha, but it's important just because of like the conversation we're having. So now we're specifying. All right, so
okay, yeah.
All right, so with black people,
bro, we lack intention way too much. Like and just thinking a thing through. It's like, and then the fact that you didn't think it through, and then the result becomes what it is. There's the complaint. Okay, well, you didn't even pay attention the whole time. Like, there's literally the answer to your question is probably you.
Okay.
And you're not like I see that the shit is so lacking, and the excuses like I can't dive into the specific scenario, but just so much that I've seen. It's just like,
but I think that if it doesn't become specific, like that's not a trait that's specific to black people. Yeah, I think that's like something that you can kind of give every single community and say that. And that's why I'm asking, like, you got to kind of like make it specific to where it's even something that can be responded to, because of what you're saying is a human trait. That's
see, my thing is like I'm around. I can't. The reason why I said it that way is because I'm around. Generally, I'm damn near always around only black people. So, like, you know what I mean? That's why it would come out that way. I guess I'm just trying to give a disclaimer as to why it comes out that way. It's because, like,
even where at work and stuff?
Yeah, even at work.
Oh, okay, shit.
Even at work. Like, it's literally nothing but us. You know what I mean? Even at work. Work, my neighborhood, damn grocery stores,
right,
the area. So like, even the cars on the road, generally, you know what I mean? It's going to be a predominantly black setup. You know what I mean? Individuals that's going to be around at any given time.
So do you not think that makes even your opinion on this extremely insulated, because you don't have like a comparison group to where like.
But I'm not.
Like I said that. So if like it might be a completely human thing that you're talking about, and you're specifying it into like black people, and that's my whole thing.
I get it.
Like, because again, like you haven't said anything that I'm like, all right, that's a black issue, that's a black problem, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can give me real examples. Because like even you saying driving, like it's shitty drivers inside every community.
Hell yeah.
And like
that's a fact.
It's stereotypes of mad different races about how bad they drive. So like only being that you're only seeing
most
bad
people drive
driving,
bad. Like,
right. That's what I'm saying. So then being like driving being one, and this is an example. That's only being the fact that you're seeing bad drivers that are black.
Right.
And that you're not actually running, and that's what you're insulated to. So that's gonna be a comparison point. These other communities ain't driving better. But now you can extrapolate that into a bigger, you know what I mean, conversation. And I think it still applies.
Somebody cut you off this weekend?
Oh, nah.
What you so angry about?
Hell, I might have got cut off this weekend, too.
I'm trying to see what the heat for.
He said black, he said black drivers suck.
Yeah, nah. Fat goddamn Shaquita. But nah. Yeah, okay. Now I'll give you another example. So, like, listening to like relationships. So like at work, right? Man, I told you about the whole. I didn't know that the idea of this whole sponsor dudes being sponsors thing. I had never heard of that terminology, the sponsor shit. So like after listening to the females talk about it, it's like, bro, like, it seems like it's a whole bunch of for the streets ass shit going on. Like it's just, I'm just so sick of like just. In all of these different areas, it seems like what is, and it may be what is projected, what we outwardly project as like the cool thing. It's always some bullshit.
Right, but I'm gonna push back again because the thing is that like you're hearing black girls say sponsors, right? Mm-hmm. But there's an extreme large community of white women that do the exact same thing, and they have websites for it. Like, so it's like sugar daddy websites. I think the site is like what is it, like Seeking Arrangements, where it's mad white women.
Ashley Madison, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where like this is just like its own culture inside popular culture. Where that's not even like a black thing.
So how about I understand exactly what you're saying. So I'll fix my statement. Not just black people are fucked. We're all fucked.
All right, there we go. All right,
we're all fucked. Let's make that the thing.
Okay, all right, there we go.
I appreciate you goddamn bringing the, you know what I mean, taking off a couple and peeling the onion back to see that what
people
really
in general, as our culture. Well, it's just as a country, as a country, like black people in the country, white people in the country. I think we've just.
And speaking more specifically to what you're saying, right? I think this brings up a good question about with the sponsorship and all that different thing, and it not being specific to black people and it just being a cultural thing. Mm-hmm. Dating in the internet age, dating right now in general. How tough is it actually? You know what I mean? Kind of like that whole thing. I think we actually have a resident single man on the panel.
I was about to say, we definitely can let single Johnny take it.
I'd love to hear your opinion, bro.
I think that'd be a good time to bring it in. Welcome to the To Be Fair show. I'm your host, Johnny P.
Oh, here, real.
It's Q.
And we'll get back into it. But that was my question, by the way. I came up with, how to find...
He keeping it. Right. he want his pat on the back.
I try to make it smooth. Right. Ride into it like it naturally happened, my nigga.
Well, because that was my question. And the reason I'm going to say it is because it's something I struggle with as far as, like, how do you find, like, a real connection or real love? Because that's something I'm big on as far as, like, I don't think relationships, they do have to be business related, but I'm kind of traditional in the sense of I want to be in love with my wife or whoever I'm going to be in partner with. I want that real connection. And I think in today's internet age, it can be real hard to, establish and find a real connection. And that's why I got two guys up here that's, one of them married, one of them in a long-term relationship. So I wanted to, kind of pose that question as, like, how do you find, established? Because it's tough out here, with the internet age. Like you were saying, all the girls talking about sponsors. And, it's hard to, with how our society has shifted, it's hard to, because I feel like most people treat relationships as like an accessory. They treat their boyfriend like a purse or like a handbag. It's just an accessory to go along with their life.
So, in essence, what you're asking is, it's the vetting question. So, like, what is your process or what is the process that you go through to make sure that you find a quality partner today, right?
Facts.
And I don't know. Does anybody want to hit it first? So I guess I'm gonna actually start with you, Johnny. So you out here in the game, right?
Right. You know more than
that's why I got questions like, how do you find love in the internet age? Because it's hard.
So what have you tried? Like, what was your previous vetting strategy? Like, what were the things that you would, that you would say that these were things I was looking for? These were things.
I'll be honest. I have never really had a specific strategy of this is how I'm gonna approach.
Gotcha.
Like dating or in the past, especially like in my 20s, it's always been like whoever if I meet somebody.
That nigga, you saw my niggas.
That's what I be talking about.
All right, my bad.
Hey, you might have a point. This shit might come all the way through. But in my 20s, that's kind of how it was. You meet somebody, but I like her. She might be cool. Let's see where this goes. Without any real process, you find yourself kind of meeting the same person. Over and over, almost.
So you didn't have a strategy, but were there particular things that you were looking for in a person, like certain qualities, attributes? Like, what did that look like for you? Was it just, oh, she's pretty, she cool, we vibing?
Usually,
you was looking for the ass. Go ahead.
Well, physical attraction is always like a big first, step. Like, you're probably not going to try to pursue a relationship with somebody you're not physically attracted to first.
Of course.
So that's like, that might be where you get fucked up.
It's the soul ties, like the spirits and shit,
and the energy, and vibrations, and astrology.
Peace and love to everybody. But so it always just be finding, you say what qualities? Like I say, the attraction. I always like, just a good personality, but outside of that, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't have no, like, standards as far as, she got to come from this kind of family, or,
But for me, I don't even look at it as that, per se. I think that some of the things that I do look at and look for is, I look at a person. Obviously, like you said, like there's some baselines where you start with a certain level of attraction, and me, I also want her to be about some level of something or whatnot. So having like a specific baseline of like a career or a something inside that, then it becomes a lot of like different little things where it comes down to like interactions and kind of how you just maneuver within different groups.
Chemistry.
So like, well, I mean, I think that, but I think that the interpersonal chemistry is going to be its own thing. But then if I'm forecasting for the future, now let me look at like, how do you treat your family? And what's your standing in your family? Are you catty with your friends? Are you and your friends always getting into shit or whatnot? Like, is there always drama? Are you in the middle of drama consistently? Because I think that all these things kind of forecast themselves out later. I think that
I will say that's one I found getting older, that's a green flag, is a woman that has had consistent friends. For like 5, 10, a lifetime. I feel like that's definitely a green flag for me personally. Because like what you said is as far as friends, that's something I would see back in the day.
Yeah,
you'd be with a girl that she'd come home complaining about, her friends and then falling out, and you just be like, oh, everybody suck. But then you don't ever, you don't ever like be like, well, what's your part in all the drama that you in? So that's just all.
Yeah, I think that another good one in my process is looking at how they act in a position of power. No matter if it's, no matter what it is. Because of eventually, especially if we're dating long term, we have a kid. Let's all be real. A woman becomes inside a position of power when they have a kid.
No, that's a good one.
Just the way the system is
for sure
made up, X, Y, and Z. So, like, do you manipulate people inside a position of power? Whatever capacity that you're in. Are you generous? Are you regular? You know what I mean? I think, like, a lot of those attributes and characteristics, for me, are things that I look for.
Yeah, they're like one thing I would think that I've been out the game so long that it's hard for me. I was trying to think of something, but one thing, and I always talk about this shit too, your relationship with money. I think that's a really big one too. Like the things that you prioritize as far as your finances and where they go. I think that tells a lot about, you know what I mean, your decision making and you as a person. You know what I mean? It tells a lot about you as a person as well.
Adversity is another one. I think that
that's a big one.
Like as soon as you can, obviously, like you're not trying to put nobody through no shit, but seeing as soon as you can how this person deals in adverse situations,
how they act under pressure.
Adversity is literally just a part of life.
Facts.
It's gonna happen. You're gonna have to deal with some shit, and it just is what it is.
No, that's a big one.
So I know for me, like those be a lot of the main ones that I can think of off of the top. That when I'm just sitting. And outside of like the simple shit of like, oh, do I enjoy your personality? Do we have things that we connect on inside some level? Is there similarities of something? It goes down to like all of these traits that I think forecast out. That's my process when it comes to like actually dating and then what would be the word? Dwindling down, I guess. Like the options and then getting very, very focused on something. It becomes like that person that has these other traits. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, we all know that the most beautiful person doesn't necessarily mean that they're about to be the best person for you.
Oh, yeah. They most of the times more shitty.
Yeah.
It just seems that way. I don't know what it is. It just seems to be more shitty.
That is for sure.
Just a solid-ass person is so much more valuable.
And then, I know I say this a lot, and I probably will make this a thing, like, because I feel like it's still the most important thing when it comes down to it. I know we're like talking about vetting and trying to capture this perfect, or not perfect, because that's just not going to be accomplished, but ideal situation. The only thing that keeps a relationship together is the decision every day to keep together.
Commitment.
We can sit here and, you know what I mean. And I was going to say like that if you pay attention to the way that she adheres to her commitments too. I think that should be something that they should be looking at with us as well.
That's a fucking great
one. That's what they do. Snaps. That's a good one right there.
But and like I say, every day, bro, because this shit is it's really not no stamped way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No stamped process that this is gonna work. There's not really a stamped way because, like, I think, in my opinion, relationships is the hardest thing that there is. It's the hardest thing. Like, there's more niggas that retire from the military after 20, 30 years than there is niggas to be married 20, 30 years. So, like, it's gotta be, like, literally the hardest thing for people to do. And in today's time, it's just getting harder and harder. And it was something that I mentioned too, and this kind of is a little bit off topic, but I mentioned to, I was listening to some women talk about like the expectations of men, and I was like allowing them to vent because I wanted to kind of get some questions from them that we could kind of discuss. And as they were talking, it was crazy because I literally just started thinking, I'm like, man, we got a lot of evolving to do if we're like if we sit and just take into account the problems that women have with us currently, and then we look at the problems that women had with us previously.
Okay.
The man that was the problem then, or the man that was the fix to the problem then, is now a problem now. We have to get, when I say that, I mean that the stoic, less emotional, all of these characteristics of our grandfathers and like of your dad, like Mr. Mike, like those stoic, more like quote unquote masculine characteristics are things now that we're saying now we need to be more emotional. We need to be more in tune with our emotions and you know what I mean, the communication. Whereas before it was like he didn't really say much.
Can I push back
now
on that
you want more communication, where it's like, okay, so now we have to learn how to communicate. We have to unlearn being this this stoic figure where it's like you're less emotional. You hold everything in, and your whole life is to execute. Versus internalizing the enemy, all of this is to execute. And then now it's like, okay, we got a little evolving to do. Go ahead.
Well, no. I was gonna let you finish, but I was just gonna say I wanted to push back on the part where you said like the man from the past that was the fix to the problem is now the problem. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's, and I might be biased in looking at it this way, but I don't think it's necessarily the man that's like the issue as far as like, I think it's just like society has shifted to where like I think that same man, you know, like Quint's dad, my father, you know, those kind of quiet types, just get it done. I think people like that still are the answer, or men like that, you know, that have those same principles still are the answer. I
think it might be an outdated model. Mm-hmm. Because
is it before you go? I'm saying, is it an outdated model, or is it like that society has pushed black culture?
Women have evolved as well.
Women have evolved,
and their roles inside like relationships and different things like that.
No, that's facts.
Have evolved to where I think it's fair enough to where like if we're now inside this internet age of enlightenment to an extent, like it's almost like the new version of the age of enlightenment, where there's just so much more information and more conversations happening. To where, like, I think a piece of it back in the day as well is that we didn't have all the tools to be able to, like, as men, be able to fully express ourselves.
No, I get that.
We weren't also allowed the space of vulnerability because of, like, it was so much passed down traumas and different things like that. To where, like, you know what I mean? Like, you knew that you had to come and do these specific things. But I guarantee you talk to any of those men that had to be strong and stoic. There's a piece of them where they wish that they could be
there's a lot
vulnerable
more,
in that piece.
There's more
and that's
behind
like the growth of where we're at now.
Well, no, I was just going to, and I get that. And, like, I ain't trying to take away from, like, the evolution of women by any, you know, at all. But just the same way I see the way that, like, liberal media has maybe kind of perverted the image of the black man.
Okay.
You don't think that it's also happened with, like, the way the black woman thinks and what's maybe been pushed on her as far as, like, what her values and ideals is? Sometimes, like, with feminism and just pushing that shit on women real hard, like, it's the same exact to what they've done to, like, the hyper masculinity.
The hypersexualization on the other side.
Yeah, so
I see what you're saying.
And so that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's necessarily, I know women have evolved and stuff, but I think men and women are still the same. You can still be a man, you know, I think you can still be that same man, and a woman can still be a woman, and it worked. But I guess we got a question we gonna get to.
Yeah. So the question is, what advice do you have for younger men who may be facing a society that seems to no longer value masculinity?
Stay strong.
Piggyback on this conversation.
Nah. I was gonna say, hey, just stay strong, King. Because I mean, I don't think, you know, I think there's always going to be, a space for the masculine and the feminine. So, like, just because there's hyper masculinity out there, I don't think the answer to hyper masculinity is no masculinity. So, like, I think you got to stay where you at and you got to stay strong. But it's tough. So, I mean, you got to figure out how to find out who you are and then just live in your truth every day. But that's the only thing I could tell anybody.
Yeah. I guess the one thing that the one thing that popped in my head almost instantaneously when you said that was like, prioritize yourself. Mm-hmm. Prioritize yourself. I say that because there's as a man, like the expectation is your back is the expectation is that your back has the ability to carry the load.
Facts.
And you're gonna need to focus on yourself because if you don't, then you as you can see, like it's a lot easier for us to find places or find ourselves in moments of like wanting to fold or yeah. So I would just say prioritize yourself. People call you selfish. You know what I mean? Don't worry about all of this stuff that people be saying. It's that whatever they're saying is pretty much, it's not necessarily, it's just their perception. Just leave it at, it's just their perception, and at the end of the day, the perception that you should be really most worried about is your perception of yourself. That man that's in the mirror.
It's valid.
My answer would be simply, it's okay. Right? But meaning that inside even broader term, where there is no specific version of what a black man looks like.
Facts.
And even masculinity is not monolithic.
No, that's for sure.
So like, however, like who you are, and if you are like this aggressive kid or whatever, it's okay. Like, and you'll learn how to soften up in different spaces, and there's places where that is extremely useful. And again, it is okay. Of course, when we get to that line of like hyper/toxic, okay, let's peel it back a little bit, or pull it back a little bit. Let's kind of relax a bit. But then this also goes to that kid who is more emotionally in touch with who they are. It's okay. It's okay. There's spaces where that is important inside today's time. Yes. Okay. All right.
I got a question real quick, just to piggyback.
Bit tone.
Yeah. While y'all talking about hypermasculinity, why do we never hear the terms hyperfemininity or toxic femininity? Is that not a such thing, or is this?
Oh, you about to throw it somewhere else.
This
is a good bad that we can get into.
This is really one thing stuck to men though, like to be hypermasculine.
No, what it is that the only because we don't outwardly kind of
complain.
Yeah, we not really. And then the thing is that how many times do you hear a dude say women are toxic and you know what I mean, or any of this toxic? Oh no, those podcast niggas. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about in real life though.
No. Niggas complain about they.
No, that's some toxic.
But we just do it to each other.
Like I know
I guess the voice is louder.
I know you know a nigga that got a toxic baby mama.
Oh, facts.
Yeah, nah, we complain. We just don't do it on the internet. Well, no, that's what the whole red pill shit is now.
But yeah, when you talk about those podcasts,
toxic femininity, I think that right now there is this big pushback against like the classic feminist blue hair quote unquote movement or whatnot, and which like go ahead.
Oh no, the crazy thing you just said that because I was listening to this white lady on some video and she was talking about that she had her hair blue, and you just said blue hair, and I'm like, I didn't know that
they
shit
call it like
meant
blue
that.
hair feminist.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Big Johnny, what you saying?
What you was just, saying about how, the blue hair feminists and a lot of the red pill, how they get so far on the extremes, but I was reading something and they called it like that's the horseshoe theory, as far as like once you get so far out on the extremes, whether it's hyper masculinity or toxic femininity.
Yeah.
The talking points are the same basically, and they can be recycled for either side. So once you get that far out on the extreme, that's when you kind of know once somebody can take your talking point and use it for the ops or use it for the other side. That's how you know you like kind of got too far out there. As far as like what you're saying and what you're believing in may not hold water. It may be holes in your theory, in your logic.
And this is just my small little feminist tangent, right? The annoying part to me is that, like, by definition, I would want to agree with feminism. Because all it's speaking about is like equality. In general.
Mm-hmm.
But the application
that's the
of
same with
feminism
civil rights.
is like so horrible that it'd be hard to stand most of the motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Because it's never a fight of equality, it becomes a fight about just now becoming the power structure. And you know what I mean, in essence snipping whoever any and everybody else's voice to where it doesn't matter. And to me it's like I think J. Cole had a song that kind of like hit on this point where it's like, see what power does to man. Like you become, like you go from being like the downtrodden to where you overthrow the government, and then those same people that overthrow the government end up becoming dictators, and it just becomes a cycle.
And become the oppressors.
Yeah,
the
and
oppressed
like you
becomes
see it
the
in
oppressor.
literally every single, whether it's third world country, major country.
Yeah,
power in itself.
Well, let me ask
and
you
everybody's
this.
fighting for power.
Let me ask you this: do you think? Because I think black people, everybody agree, we're the oppressed people right now. Do you think once we get to power, do you think is that gonna be us? Once we get to where I want to see us get the power, do you think we're gonna be oppressors, or you think we'll have more open or be more open to having a true and free, equal, society?
I think it's two ways to answer it. I would say one, I think that our people, our black people, are we subject to human nature? I would say
absolutely.
Yes. You've seen
right.
that happen inside African countries, X, Y, and Z. But then there is this space, right, with black people, where, especially specifically in America, we are like the most empathetic people. Where it's like this really interesting thing where, like, we will almost ignore our own struggle to make sure we're helping out somebody else. And it be so counterproductive at times, but like it's something that you see happen a lot where like you'll see all these groups piggyback on the work of what black people have done. And you can voice that all the way down from like the civil rights movement and who actually benefited from most of the legislation. You can look at, LGBTQ community piggybacking off a lot of like black legislation. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, I was gonna say I know what you're talking about, but is that necessarily black people being empathetic, or is that the other people?
Who be on the front line? You know how many times somebody say you can't be a black person in America and not identify with whatever struggle.
But that's because they're lost in the sauce of being manipulated by another like.
And how many
source.
how many?
But that's not us being empathetic. That's us being manipulated by like liberal media into thinking the way they think.
The level of empathy. I'm gonna tell you. Never mind. I ain't gonna go down that line. But
like I said, I agree with you as far as like I feel like we get all our struggles. Like look what civil rights is now. Like you look up civil rights and you see everything they fight for.
Look at. We can look at race in America. Truthfully, literally, the only people who do not practice racism inside some level is black people. You look inside every single community, and they are very specific to spending their shit with their community. They've been very specific about making sure that dollar circulates and building up. And what's the word when you like do business within your community, within your family?
Nepotism.
You see nepotism up and down.
Right.
Every single community. We just keep getting tricked on the idea of like integration.
But that's us being manipulated because the integration was a manipulation.
But we fall for it still though.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's an interesting thing that nobody else falling for the shit but us.
Yeah, and I would think that if you think about it too, that we are literally the only people that
practice
they advertise the shit.
And that
they advertise it for.
I think that it's advertised to everybody, but we be the niggas front line.
Because
they're gonna throw all the rainbow faces in there, but for some reason we've attached to that. And this can go back further to like my whole theory about like black people not seeing themselves as minorities in America, in which like of course like we're the founding stone of America because we built the shit. But I think we get lost in the idea of like how like white people be doing shit a lot of times, and it be counterproductive to us.
No, I mean I agree with you as far as like we are the empathetic, but I guess to get to the root of it always, and kind of like Like my boy Trey had, like he's been, y'all boys been kind of going back and forth.
Shout out to Trey, bro.
Over the week.
Shout out to Trey.
Oh yeah,
bro.
hey, shout out my dog Trey
brother.
Leno, man. Shout out my partner. But it kind of goes back to the point, like, yes, we are very empathetic people, and we do sign up for all of these other civil rights, and it's because I feel like it's because there's certain ones of us, not all of us, but certain ones of us feel a certain obligation to fight for other people because they've been manipulated by the media to feel like that media or the Democrats have fought for them. And so when they see the Democrats bringing out something for another group, they feel a certain obligation, but it's not necessarily they're an empathetic person. They just feel like a certain kind of debt to that.
Never mind. I get canceled if I go crazy.
Say it, bro.
Nah.
We could cut it out.
We got off mic tone. What you got to say?
We could cut it off.
I feel like you got a little piece to get off.
No, I was just about to say. I think we the people of influence. So I think a lot of times we're used to influence other people, and that in turn we end up bringing about stuff that actually affects us, like by being tricked. I think we're easily tricked, and our people tend to be the ones who bring about our own destruction of the stuff that we tend to bring about the laws that destroy us, and we don't even realize it.
Facts. The crime bill.
Because it's manipulation. Yeah. And I think that you was just touching on like us in the Democratic Party and how like we feel inclined to do shit because of the quote unquote Democrats are pushing something through for a different group. But then now let's go back to the idea of like, what has that party really been doing for us on the real ground?
Oh no, I agree with that totally.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where that manipulation comes in, and that's where it's getting tricked. And again, we've been downtrodden so much to where we identify with the struggle, so we can be empathetic with it, and so we see it, we understand it, and we want everybody come help us. But guess who be low key the same ones extremely discriminated inside the LGBTQ?
Black
people. Them black gays, them black trans.
Hey, I say that all the time. The only ones that's oppressed is the black. The white ones, Women of the Year, and covers of magazines and get pushing laws through and all of that. But I ain't gonna get too far in that bag.
Before we get to like even that, let's make sure we clarify. Like, you know what I mean? Shout out to everybody inside the LGBTQ community, and this is not a slight to any of that. What we're speaking about is discrimination on a race level across the board. And I think that happens across the board, no matter what community that you're in. You can even go into like the Indians from India. You can go into any culture where darker skinned people in general
Afro Latinas
get treated a little different. It's a little tougher role or whatnot.
The motherfucking Philippines and
If that people
Asia,
a little bit darker.
All the darker people across the world.
Yeah.
The more melanin you got in your skin, the more oppressed your existence has been. I know we got some other topics, but that I want to just freestyle a little bit, like niggas do, like as Jeremy would say. but what we was going at, and I don't even think we touched on it on like the last episode or when we were supposed to do, but like being black and nuanced and how important it is to like have a code of what blackness is and everybody like being united on blackness, but also having the freedom to think what you want to think, and you black conservatives, black liberals, and just having that whole spectrum within blackness.
Is it acceptable to be outside of the monolith if you're a black person?
Yes. I mean, it is. It may not be accepted, but it should be acceptable. Right now, black people, we might have trouble, if somebody comes in that doesn't think exactly, black. I mean, I've even done it to certain, black people. They may come in a little hot. I don't necessarily agree with if you write them off, but if they're a black person, like, they black. Like, they ain't go through the struggle in this country any differently than I did because they think differently.
Facts. And I think that to an extent, with our community, that should be lip service, for real. Where we say that we're not a monolith. We say that we accept people with all different perspectives and visions, but the application of that is usually faulty. Like, you don't see that shit actually happening. Like, whether it's on the political line, if it's on, like, any level of, like, any socio-economic, anything. If you disagree and you have a different perspective besides for what is, if we're being real, we can say, what would it be a word? A tan liberal perspective. like you get killed.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Anything that's not, well, I ain't gonna go crazy. But
that's why I think black people should, because I hear some people saying black people shouldn't vote in these upcoming elections. We should sit out. That could work. But I think the bigger power play, instead of just not voting or going, instead of voting for Democrats, voting for Republicans, is fucking vote for a third party, create your own party, and really fuck the game up. Because we know the rules, we know how it's set up.
Vote for Johnny P.
2024.
Hey.
Johnny P for president. Johnny P for president.
Hey, what you stand for, bro?
Making America great again.
You doing it twice?
No, we gonna make niggas great again. We gonna make niggas great again.
What's that at?
MGA. Make niggas great again. But
hey, no, we might need to have to goddamn push that a bit though.
Hey, why I spell out my nigga though?
Hey, nah, that's kind of hard though. That's kind of hard. I can't lie.
It definitely does.
That's crazy.
I'm pushing my copyright paper through tonight.
Oh shit!
For my boy Johnny.
Hey, we looking for cabinet members too, man. So
now put me on, bro.
Secretary of State, head of the Defense, Department
Anything
of Justice.
That got to do with, Justice. I want to be
Department of Justice.
Like logic and reasoning. I'm gonna look out for y'all.
Department of Agriculture. You know, there's a lot of departments, man. We can put some people on, but I feel like that's
local botanist on that Department of Agriculture.
I know somebody. I know a few people. But I feel like that's, as far as black people, we got all this information in front of us, and we don't ever, you know, you can, acquire information, you can analyze information, but then at some point you have to apply the information.
Implementation.
And so, like, when as black people are we gonna get to that application stage? We know the game. We've been here longer than most of these white people.
We get so lost in fucking diagnosing shit, and that be the shit that I've outgrown that now.
Yes, application.
Like I spent like a decent part of my 20s like learning and diagnosing. My mind, I don't have to identify white supremacy no more because I know it.
Yeah,
I can see it. Okay, boom.
We've lived it. We've lived it.
And this is something that I've seen somebody say that's not popular in culture right now. But they made the statement that instead of saying white supremacy, say the specific thing. Because truthfully, it's so easy to use blanket clouded statements of like, that's white supremacy, so we can't do X, Y, and Z. It's just because of white supremacy. To where like, if you describe exactly what it is, this is inequity inside like minority communities' education systems. Mm-hmm. Now we can actually really address
focus on that
and not be like, this is white supremacy. And then because it's a clouded blanket statement that you don't actually, it's not an actual action to go into it.
What I was going to say, when you break it down like that, you can really like break down how you said it's education systems not getting proper funding. But that leads into redlining. That reads, and then you can really like go and really spell this shit out to where it's undeniable, where they can't even like sit up here and try to deny this shit. But that's why they don't want to.
But you say white supremacy. It's a ghost. It's this thing that might and might not.
We
exist.
got rid of them. Right. We don't wear hoods anymore. What are you talking about?
It's this,
but it's
we got a black president. We got a black president.
Yeah, I voted for Obama. I'm not a white supremacist.
Right.
But
my bad.
What I was gonna say, you gotta acquire the information.
I gotta be safe this episode. I'll be like teetering the line and going crazy. I'm gonna be safe.
That's good. It's good for the content. The rhythm might not like it, but the content gonna be there. The real people gonna fuck with it.
All right, so Taj, I guess this would be a good time to throw into on a lighter note. The Who Asked You Anyway segment.
Okay.
You got a decent amount of little questions for us? Maybe? Yeah.
So earlier in the episode, we kind of touched on dating a little bit. And Johnny P was talking to us about kind of his style of how he went about dating, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and preface this. Oh, hey, real. Before you had a wife, you lived a single man's life, okay?
Yeah,
so I'm going to need you to go back in the archive.
We're going to actually make that a quotation.
Before
outside. You had a wife, you lived a single man's life. What's your take?
So I need you to go back into the archive, okay?
Hey, that's a bar, too. That's a bar.
It is.
Hey, give me my credit for that, okay?
Right. That's a T-shirt. Yeah, the wife, single.
But no,
that's a fire T-shirt.
Think about, obviously at some point y'all all have been a single man. Johnny like women and things like that.
The craziest thing.
I could throw in first since y'all niggas thinking. What I'll say is that for me, my crazy dating experience is what I referred to as my Maury show situation, right? This has been a piece of my vetting process that I had to eventually learn, right? And this goes specifically to what a person does when they're inside a position of power or whatever. Where I was dating somebody, lines got crossed. We weren't like specifically super committed, I guess you would say, but yeah, I mean we was doing enough, and this person got pregnant, and there was like this chance in which it could be mine or whatever.
I think all of us been there, bro.
Right.
I think it's crazy thing you saying this shit because I literally sit there and went back to that same scenario in my head. Like, that's the worst fucking shit ever that happened.
Ever. And so, like, this person held that as, like, this power play in which, like, to try and manipulate and make sure shit was straight. Luckily enough, we fast forward, boom. I'm lucky enough. We got the DNA test. You are.
Not the baby.
There you go.
Hey, that's when that shit dropped. You fuck around and goddamn had to
and
bust a little
truthfully,
rug.
and this is when I also learned. I also learned a lot about myself inside the scenario, though, where like we all understand, like when you get that news in your mind, you be like, "Wait till I hear that. I'm gonna goddamn say this, that, and the third, and I'm gonna da 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 da." But truthfully, when it happened, boom, I was like, "All right, cool," and I just left it at that.
Oh yeah,
just walked away.
The same thing I did.
Like it was no need for vengeance. There was no need for like retaliate, anything like that. And again, I went through hell in this scenario. Had to actually get like luckily enough, I had a friend that would just pass the bar. They had to write a full extent letter, XYZ, to even get a lot of shit done and rolling in the process. Because at the end of the day, with me, if you know me, I'm gonna be a dad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a dad. I'm gonna make sure that regardless of whatever the situation is, I'm gonna make sure I do my part. And I was lucky enough to where, yeah, again, you were not the father. I ain't have to run off the stage and run around. I was actually at work when the email came through, and I was like,
right.
Yeah.
Hey, every nigga watching this just side with you, bro. Felt that. Hey, niggas felt that in their gut, bro.
All right, so that's my crazy dating story. I'm gonna throw it to y'all niggas.
That's crazy because you just took my shit. You just took my shit.
Johnny,
and,
you got one?
No. I'm just gonna say, hey, and fuck all of y'all women that be goddamn doing the bullshit, stringing niggas along. You know what I mean? You sitting there because you been getting dropped the fuck off. Getting dropped the fuck off.
Episode 2.
And so now my life got to go through all these goddamn roller coasters and shit. You got me thinking I'm finna have a youngin'. I'm sitting here prepping shit and, you know what I mean? Then you meeting people you shouldn't be meeting because it's, you know what I mean? How you done fucked around and talked to Mom Dukes? You done accelerated the progression on some bullshit.
You talking about the group Uber where it's multiple drop-offs happening.
Come on, bro. My thing is, stupid.
Uber share.
That's what it is. Uber
share.
All right, we talking about the Uber share with multiple drop-offs.
You know the worst part? Then think about it. They keeping all of the niggas that be possibles close.
Oh, nah. And they
Come on,
leverage
bro.
that
Get
shit.
out of here, bro.
With child support and you ain't gonna see your kid and crazy shit like that.
Man.
I don't know.
Here,
Single Johnny, you been in the game, bro.
Give
us a horse.
I ain't got no crazy
You ain't got no
stories.
horse. This nigga here.
My nigga Johnny be keeping it player, bro. He don't be getting any commitments, do you?
Oh,
I
you
mean,
get
it's
sponsored?
been a while.
Just
I mean, since
sponsorship?
I've been
Oh,
in
you be sponsoring?
No, I don't sponsor.
When you sponsor, you stay out of trouble.
I heard Johnny P be giving out grants.
I don't be. Nah, I ain't got it like that. The Bank of Johnny is not set up like that. The Bank of Johnny, I give out loans and I gotta pay interest.
You collect back on it?
I collect.
How you collect back? They got to pay you in cash or what? What's the other option?
Hey, we collect. We just collect. We collect.
The other options that be stupid.
Okay, so this goes into the idea of women with sponsors, right? At what point does helping out turn to simping?
Yeah.
When you ain't hitting them cheeks. Be real talk.
Hey, so but what dollar amount are cheeks when you You know what I mean? When you put a tag on the cheek,
like it depends on every man's bank account, man.
So no matter, so I ask you this question then, right? So
then Corey Holcomb say $200.
$200. So I ask you the question. So with that statement, right? Tricking off. As long as you get just like a little taste of pussy, you saying, it's no longer sipping. Or what if you throwing out expensive bag, and she'll give you a little taste of pussy every once in a while.
Hold on, what's the taste?
Maybe like once a month.
I need you to define the taste of pussy.
Like once a month.
I'm trying to see if I ever had a taste.
But you paying all the bills and shit like that.
Oh, that's simple.
But she throwing you still a taste of pussy.
Yeah, man. If you want to smash.
So what's the line then? That's what I'm saying. Because you just said if you hit the cheeks, you might hit the cheeks, I guess.
I mean, you gotta hit it to your enjoyability. Like if you ain't getting enough.
I got a question. Is that city girl shit really prostitution?
I mean,
oh my bad, I went too far.
No, you didn't.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
and that's going to be a very unpopular opinion. I'm pretty sure they're going to be in the comments dragging me. But no, I say it's yes because this man is literally spending money, flying you out, doing all these things. To me, anytime you get lavish gifts or money of any sort, that comes with strings attached. There are some people who say they don't give out. I don't really know how that works, but in my mind,
goddamn hotel room.
They be capping.
In my mind, I feel like there's an exchange of something.
I always think that's cap when they say they ain't giving out. Like it's like how
the exchange of goods and services. That's in my mind. That's what it is.
But that's just what I was saying earlier. But like what you say as far as like the city girl stuff, the way they push that on black women, that's the exact.
No, they ain't pushing it on them. They are accepting that shit with their hands wide the fuck open.
So I'm saying they ain't marketing like Megan. The city, they ain't not marketing the city girls, Megan Thee Stallion, all these female rappers. They pushing that on.
But hold on.
But they pushing that on the culture though.
The Nicki Minaj first listen we did, right? Go and look in the comments, right? And you just Meg Thee Stallion. That's what it was. My bad. And you just look at that. What their rebuttal to us and not fucking with it was. We don't like the female perspective, right?
Oh no, so, but I agree with them on
that. But they had some fair points in there though.
Yeah,
like, but my question is, what they're saying is that the female perspective? Because if what they're saying is the female perspective, the perspective is some shit.
Well, all right, but then we have to be fair in this, right? Mm-hmm. Because if we're changing it a little bit to music. And I think their rebuttal is fair because of the male perspective that is wrapped in rap. Mm-hmm. Is that the actual real male perspective? And the answer still will be no, but we consume it. We did like first listens where we've fucked with niggas that's talking about robbing, killing and shit. The game freestyle. That nigga ain't do nothing.
Yeah, I said this shit was mediocre.
Listen, link in the combo.
Go and look at it.
And I guarantee you, he didn't use the words mediocre.
I gave that shit.
You didn't say mediocre because he was talking about killing niggas.
I said it was like a 5. Honestly, I ain't really into
the whole. You gave it a higher than a 5.
No, bro.
All right, we're gonna go back.
That's because you ain't like the rapping. It wasn't because of the content.
No, right. And that's just like I don't really care for the killing nigga bars. You didn't say that
at all.
Okay, well, at the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, the shit that I listen to. The shit that I listen to, even when we
with some Pusha T too, and that nigga only talked about drugs, and you was like, that shit.
Motherfucker had cocaine on the album cover.
Then also, when we looked at the Jay-Z verse, what I say, I'm not a big fan of the braggadocious rap either.
Oh no, for sure, but you also gave the credence to what it was though. Like you was like, this shit's dope. I think this shit was fire. You said those things for sure.
Yeah, if you just, but what
and
I'm saying is,
it goes to the same point that they're making. It's okay. Like, you relate to it still a little bit more because of the male perspective. And I think their point is fair in the fact that, like, as men, we don't...
Nigga, and then, hold on, another one. That's just like my critique of the baby. Like, my critique of the baby. I don't want to hear you talk about hitting it from the back every song. To me, this shit is trash. Anytime you...
Who do you listen to? Let's talk about it, because I guarantee
you
I can...
And
I got you. Cole got some ignorant shit, too.
Hold on, I'm going to pull it up.
Hey, fellas. Before we get into it, you know, y'all like, comment, subscribe. Y'all tell us what y'all think below. I think we should probably hop into a positive takeaway for the week. I ain't really got one yet. It's been a little busy week for me, crazy stuff, you know, doing, you know, just trying to, with the rollout and everything. I hadn't necessarily thought of my positive takeaway, so I'll let y'all boys, start off and I end it out.
I could throw one.
Or Rail to start.
Oh yeah, I don't mind.
All right.
Yeah, throughout my week, something that I realized is that it's the experience of life here is forever. It should be a forever learning exercise. That was something that kind of dawned on me. Like even like in my marriage, like trying new things, like and I ain't just trying to understanding that you wanna move with intention, as I like using that word intention, and everything that you do with intention is going to bear a result that is more shaped more from the intention that you had.
That's for sure.
So, like I said, yeah, pretty much just continually learning. Don't get stuck in a way and thinking that this is right because everything is forever changing.
What you said? Repeat what you said at the beginning. You said learning. Repeat what you said at the beginning.
Shoot, bro, I'm freestyling. He said repeat.
You said
this flowing from
y'all rewind that shit
from
back.
the heart. That's about all I got.
But now you said learning is a forever exercise.
Yeah, learning. Yeah,
that's fire.
Yeah.
That is fire. Like I really like that. It's a bar. I really like that.
I would say positive takeaway. I would go with legacy. I think legacy. And I'll shape that in the fact of like I think last week around this time. I went to a football game. I used to play percussion and shit like that. And 15 years later, like I have 13 years later, I have a son that's 13 years old. And the quick story behind it will be, I had my son when I was in college, and I was still kind of like I was in college and I was still playing drums. And
hey man, you got flex on.
I wrote this cadence or whatnot, and before it was named, I think that he was being born, so I had to go back to Charlotte XYZ. When I eventually came back up to school, they named it QJ, just because of like he was born, it was the exact same time frame.
Wait a minute, you said they named it?
Huh?
They named it.
Yeah,
QJ?
they actually named it QJ. I hadn't named it.
You didn't even come up with it. Oh, that's fire. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that part of the story.
Yeah,
that's fire.
So, 13 years later, I went to the game, and it was a very proud moment where the drum line at Central DOA they played QJ, and QJ was actually able to be there and recognizing me in that moment.
That shit ill.
That's hard as fuck.
That shit. We got to flex on that story a little more. Like,
you gotta let motherfuckers. Like you got the name of the school and all that. No,
like you got to flex on that a little. That shit fire.
But yeah, I mean, so we had that, and it was even like they blocked up against T, and they were still running other cadences that I had wrote, in which like that level of pride when you're able to leave a legacy is huge. And I think that then kind of like translates itself. You can extrapolate that further, where like you talk about like whether it's your kids, whether it's like your inheritance, whether it's like the legacy that you personally leave. I think that's important, and it's something to be proud of. And like for me, that's a microcosm of it, of some shit that I'm trying to do on a macro sense.
I heard Cole still ain't want that smoke neither.
Oh no, they didn't. Niggas
that's
walked
just,
up, blocked up.
I wasn't
QJ.
I wasn't there, but that's what I heard.
It just was what it was. Them niggas went on the bus.
They got back on the bus.
Yeah, they got back on the bus.
Sheesh.
It's all right.
That's
it
tough.
Be like that sometimes.
That's tough. Shut
if
up.
I ain't want to smoke, I'd do the same thing.
Shut up, DOA.
I can't even say nothing. You remember Mr. Suggs? We used to have to run sometimes. Mr. Suggs ain't want us to block up niggas at the end of the games. I can't even say nothing.
I be wondering, like,
he was probably trying to save y'all.
He
was probably trying to.
Literally the highlight of the whole thing.
You tell them kids to go out there and work on punches for hours and hours for fucking what?
Hey, he might have been trying to save y'all though.
Nah, nigga, we was like that.
I'm talking about.
Don't even try that. Don't even try that.
Ask
hard. Ask hard.
Yeah, we
ask
was
Jill. Ask
Keith. Got the leg real quick.
We was up. We was up.
We was up.
We wanted to smoke. Ready.
Facts.
Come on, Johnny. What's your positive takeaway?
Shit, I'm gonna get in mine. It's just this past week I've been, fucking with the social media again, trying to, get that part of the pod popping. So that's been like he say, learning is a forever exercise. And what you talk about like legacy, I feel like that's that social media shit is something that I've been just trying to just learn again and just that learning experience and just getting in it. Also, just seeing some of the feedback the boys been getting, the positive. Appreciate all the love we've been getting as far as the comments, the reshares. Just people fucking with us off the first episode. So that's just been kind of, it's like humbling love. As far as people.
And fun experience.
Just fun, but as far as like sometimes all the lights be on, it'd be a little nerve wracking to get in front of the camera and shit. And I feel like you give a little piece of your soul away every time you do it. And when you do that and you get like a positive, review from it, or somebody saying, "Oh, I really fuck with that. You was doing that shit." That shit just getting that feedback from just a little bit of shit we've done so far has just been positive to me. And I'm telling my homie, he's like, "Yeah, he showed some people at work and shit." And I just appreciate everybody that's been showing us love, all the comments, the reshares, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the To Be Fair Show. I'm your host, Johnny P.
Oh, here, real.
It's Q.
And we out.
Wow.